Hello everyone, welcome to GS Score. This is Ajay Shah, and in this video lecture we are going to discuss 10 questions from UPSC prelims point of view that is important and relevant for UPSC prelims examination 2020. So let's start the discussion. So this is the first question for you, and this question is on local self-government concerning the post of mayor. So there are two statements. Let us read the statement. The first statement is that the constitution bars from the holding indirect elections to the post of mayors in municipalities. Now, Constitution of India in 74th Constitutional Amendment Act speaks about the local urban governance. Now, in that it has two types of provision. The first provision is mandatory provision, and then we have voluntary provisions. Mandatory provisions are provisions like that there should be election in 5 years. Again, there should be a state election commission for conduction of election, etc. But there are some voluntary provisions. So the mode of holding the election of a mayor is a voluntary provision, and different states have different method to elect mayor. For example, in Maharashtra, mayor is elected by indirect election, that is by councillors. But again in Jharkhand, if you see, then in Jharkhand mayors are elected by direct election. So why this was in news? This was in news because recently Tamil Nadu government, it has passed an ordinance, and as per the ordinance now Tamil Nadu government will hold indirect election for the post of mayor, and that ordinance has been approved by the Madras High Court. So the first statement is wrong because there is no as such bar from the Constitution of India. Now let us see the second statement. Mayor is a formal head of corporation who is elected for 1 year annual term. So again, this is a voluntary provision, and different states can have different provision as far as tenure is concerned, and so we cannot say that the term of a mayor is fixed for 1 year term. For example, in recent amendment, now the mayor in Tamil Nadu, they will hold the post for 5 years. So both statement 1 and 2 are wrong. That is option C will be the correct answer here. Now this question is from anticipatory bail. So let us first see what is this anticipatory bail. So there are two types of bail. First is ordinary bail and second one is anticipatory bail. Ordinary bail is nothing but ordinary bail is a bail which is granted when you are arrested. That means you are behind the bars, you are in prison. But anticipatory bail is granted when you perceive your arrest. That means to avoid the arrest, you file an anticipatory bail so that you might save yourself from any kind of arrest in future. For example, recently a famous journalist, that is Vinod Dua, he got anticipatory bail from Delhi High Court. Fine. Now let us see the first statement. The Supreme Court ruled that no time restriction should ordinarily be fixed for anticipatory bail, and it can continue even until the end of the trial. So this is very correct. This is a very recent statement, and Supreme Court of India has said that anticipatory bail can continue even up to the end of trial, and there is no time bar like 6 months, 3 months, 4 months for anticipatory bail. Now the second statement is that Constitution has clearly defined the term anticipatory bail. So this can be very easily eliminated by the method of elimination, because Constitution of India has no business about this kind of stuffs, and anticipatory bail, FIR, how to arrest and all these all have got mentioned in CRPC, that is Criminal Procedure Act 1973. And section 438 of CRPC 1973 basically speaks about anticipatory bail. Fine. So second statement is wrong. Now third statement, let us see. The provision empowers only session court in high court to grant anticipatory bail. So here is the trick. You might think that Supreme Court can grant anticipatory bail, but the fact is that anticipatory bail can be issued only by session court and high court. So statement 3 is correct. So the correct answer will be 1 and 3, that is option number B. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. So this question is about doctrine of essentiality. Fine. So let us see what exactly is this. So the first statement is that it was invented by Supreme Court in Shirur Mutt case in 1954. So this statement is absolutely correct. So what basically is this doctrine of essentiality? So you might be knowing that India is a secular country, that has been mentioned in the preamble of India, and it is also considered as the part of basic structure. Now the problem is that Indian citizens, they are having liberty, freedom, as far as they enjoy a range of freedom in the protection of their religious right. Now the problem is that at times it becomes quite difficult to differentiate between something which is really a religious canon or something which has been made or manufactured by the man himself. And so Supreme Court of India in 1954 invented a doctrine, and Supreme Court of India said that whenever the court has to grant any kind of religious rights, freedom, then it will apply doctrine of essentiality. For example, the Supreme Court of India in Sabrimala temple issue case said that any ritual that has relation with the menstruation cycle of women, that is not the essential part of Hindu religion. Similarly, in this triple talaq case also Supreme Court of India has observed that that is also not the essential part of the religion. So whenever Supreme Court of India has to scan any religious issues, it will go and it will apply doctrine of essentiality. Now let us see the second statement. SC held that the term religion will cover all rituals and practices integral to the religion. So that's very correct. It will see that whether any ritual, any practice is integral to that religion or not. Now the third statement is essay will refer only to religious texts to determine the essential practices of a religion. So it is wrong, because whenever Supreme Court of India has to apply this doctrine of essentiality in any religion, then Supreme Court of India can even go for empirical data. Supreme Court of India can call some religious experts, and it will not rely only and only on religious texts. So statement 3 is wrong. So 1 and 2 statement are correct. So correct answer will be option C. Now the next question. So this question is on Andhra Pradesh. So recently Andhra Pradesh has decided that Andhra Pradesh will go for 3 capitals. Fine. So let us see the statements. The first statement is Andhra Pradesh has decided to make Kurnool as the judicial capital. So this is very correct, because Andhra Pradesh has decided to make 3 capital. Amravati will be legislative capital, Vishakhapatnam will be executive capital, and Kurnool will be the judicial capital. So the concept of multiple capital cities is not new to India. For example, in Maharashtra, we can see that Nagpur is said to be the winter capital and Bombay is said to be the summer capital. Similarly, in Jammu Kashmir also Srinagar and Jammu. Fine. So statement 1 is correct. Second, the concept of having 3 capitals is inspired from Kenya. So the concept of 3 capital cities in Andhra Pradesh, that has been inspired by South Africa, because in South Africa also we have 3 capitals. For example, Cape Town is legislative capital of South Africa. Fine. So statement 2 is wrong. So only 1 will be the correct. That is option A. Okay. Now let us see this question. So this question is on cabinet committees. Why this question is was in news? Because recently Modi government has made some new committees. It has changed something, and so this was in news. So let us see the statements. The first statement is that they are constitutional bodies set up by the Prime Minister. So here only you can outline and you can reject this option, because cabinet committees are not constitutional bodies, but cabinet committees are extra constitutional bodies, and they are basically established under Transaction of Business Rule 1961. So the first statement is wrong. They are not constitutional body. Now let us see the second statement. Cabinet Committees on Investment and Growth is a newly constituted committee to identify and implement key projects involving investment of 1,000 crore or more. So this is very correct. This is a new committee, that is Cabinet Committee on Investment and Growth, that has been made by Modi government to make the project go in a very speed process. The big projects, the projects which has investment of 1,000 crore or more. Now let us see the third statement. So Prime Minister presides over all the cabinet committees. So Prime Minister, so it's purely a factual question, because Prime Minister presides all the cabinet committees except 2 committees. That is number 1, Committee on Accommodation and Committee on Parliamentary Affairs. These 2 committees are not headed by the Prime Minister. So statement 3 is wrong, statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is correct. So only 2 will be the correct answer. That is option B. Now this question is on a government scheme, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. Again, it's a very famous scheme. So let us see the scheme. First statement, it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Now there are 2 types of scheme as far as central government is concerned. One is central sponsored scheme and one is central sector scheme. In central sector scheme, the central government will bear the entire cost. But in centrally sponsored scheme, central government shares the cost of that scheme. So this Sampada Yojana is not a centrally sponsored scheme, but Sampada Yojana is central sector scheme. So statement 1 is wrong. Let us see the second statement. It is implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. So second statement is also wrong. Sampada scheme is not by Ministry of Agriculture, but Sampada scheme is by Ministry of Food Processing Industries, in which the government has allotted 6,000 crore rupees for the period of 2016 to 2020. Now let us see the third statement. It will help in reducing the wastage of agriculture produce and doubling of farmers' income. So obviously this scheme is about food processing industry. So it is going to stop the wastage of agriculture produce, and it is also going to double the farmers' income. So only third statement is correct. 1 and 2 are wrong. And since we had to choose incorrect statement, so correct answer will be option C. Fine. So just I will tell you one more fact here, that this scheme, that is Sampada scheme, in the Sampada scheme there are 7 components. The components are mega food parks. Then we should create a cold chain. Then we will create infrastructure for agro processing clusters. Then there will be a backward and forward linkage. The meaning of backward and forward linkage is that there will be linkage between the seller and the producer. Then there will be preservative capacities. Then there will be food safety and quality assurance infrastructure, and at last there will be human resource and institutions. Okay. So this question number 7 is on Jansankhya Sthirta Kosh, that is National Population Stabilization Fund. Fine. So let us see this question. So let us read the first statement. The first statement is that it was set up in 2004 to 2005 with an aim to achieve population stabilization by 2035. So this fund was established in 2004-5, that is correct, but the aim to achieve population stabilization is not 2035 but 2045. So first statement is wrong. Second, it has been registered as an autonomous society established under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. So this is very correct. This is an autonomous body, and it will under the administrative regulation of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now the third statement, under its Santushti scheme, it has launched a responsible parenthood strategy to help push up to the age of marriage of girls and space the birth of children. So this strategy, that is parenthood strategy, where we will push the gap that is age of marriage of girls and the space of birth of children. This parenthood strategy is definitely there, but this is not under the name of Santushti, but name of this strategy is Prerna scheme. Now what is Prerna scheme? In Prerna scheme, in order to help push up to the age of marriage of girls and the space of birth of children in the interest of health of young mothers and infants, there will be a responsible parenthood strategy in 7 focus states, that is Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha and Rajasthan. Now in this fund there is something like Santushti scheme. Now what is Santushti scheme? Santushti scheme is nothing but in Santushti scheme we are going to target highly populated states of India, that is Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Odisha. And under this strategy, government is going to have a kind of partnership with private doctors, private surgeons, private gynecologists to achieve the target of population stabilization. Okay. So statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 3 is wrong. So only 2, that is option number B, is the correct answer. Now this question is from Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Fine. So let us see the first statement. So first statement says the wonders of SCO include archaeological and historical monument of SCO region. So that's very correct. In SCO region, basically in SCO region. Now the confusion will be there because if you know the fact that India and Pakistan became member of SCO in 2017, then you can appreciate the idea. Otherwise you might reject this option. So just keep in your mind that India and Pakistan became the member of SCO in 2017. First statement is correct. Now let us see the second statement. The Statue of Unity in India has been added to the 8 wonder of SCO. So this is very correct. This was in fact in news also. So both statement 1 and 2 are correct. So just for value addition, let me tell you what are the 8 wonders as per SU. So the 8 wonders are Statue of Unity in India, then we have a Damming Palace in China, then Navruj Palace in Tajikistan, then Mughals Heritage in Pakistan, then Tamagle Gorge in Kyrgyzstan, then Polikalan Complex in Uzbekistan, and at last the Golden Ring of Russia. Okay, that's all. So now let's move to the next question. So this question is on Swachh Sarvekshan League. Fine. So again, this is often in news. So let us read the statements. The first is that Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation released Swachh Sarvekshan League in New Delhi. So it is a very factual question because it is not by Ministry of Drinking, but it is by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Fine. So first statement is wrong. Now the second statement, in the category of population between 1 lakh and 10 lakh, Jamshedpur occupied the first spot. So this is also correct. In the population that is below from 1 lakh to 10 lakh, Jamshedpur has occupied the first space, the first rank. And in the category of 10 lakh plus population, Indore has secured the first place. And in fact, Indore has secured this place consistently for the last 3 years. Fine. So both option 1 and only option 2 is correct. So B will be the correct answer. Now this is the last question. So NRI, fine. So non-resident Indians. So you might be knowing that NRIs, the definition of NRIs is basically for taxation system, and it has nothing to do with the kind of citizenship or the time of stay and all. So NRI is a definition which is purely from the point of view of taxation system of India. So let us see the first statement. In the context, not the first statement, we have to choose the countries as per the ranking of remittances. So the statement says, in the context, which of the following countries are largest contributors of remittances in India in decreasing order? Fine. So the biggest contributor is UAE, the second biggest is US, third is Saudi Arabia, and the fourth is Qatar. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 is the direct answer here. So let me just tell you why this was in news. This was in news because the government of India has changed the law, taxation law, as far as the taxation system of NRI is concerned. Now, as per the new proposed change in the budget of 2020, any Indian citizen, any Indian citizen who is not liable to be taxed in any other country shall be deemed to be the resident in India, and he shall not qualify the definition of NRI as far as taxation is concerned. And in such case, India will have the taxation right. Now, one thing you should notice here, that India will tax that person only and only when his income is derived from any business or profession that is in India. Fine. So D is the correct answer. So that's all up to today. I hope you liked the video. So please like and subscribe our channel for more such videos. Thank you very much. Thank you.